Hey everyone, I'm Cole Messer, otherwise known as the Scrum Master's Friend. I'm here to help both new and seasoned Scrum Masters with the real world challenges of leading a team in an ever-changing environment, and more importantly, how to succeed. And today we have Daniel Greenleaf, COO at Transcendio Talent and Agile Coach, here to talk to us about the value of inexperience, which is strange. Is there really any advantage to having a team without experience?
Awesome. Well, hey, nice to meet everybody. Again, I'm Dan Greenleaf. In addition to being COO at Transcendio, we're going to put a little plug in here. Sorry, Cole, but where we try and help get women and underrepresented minorities into technology leadership tracks, such as Scrum Master, Project Manager type roles. I've been an Agile coach, Scrum Master, Product Owner. I've done just about every non-technical role over the last 15 years and have loved every minute of Agile. Well, I shouldn't say every minute, but I found myself early in my career in a waterfall environment that was common in the aughts, and very happy getting into an Agile world. So spent most of my time there. And yeah, to answer the question, Cole, so, a little bit of a qualifier there. I would not recommend an entirely new team. So I wouldn't put together a team of entirely new folks. But what I have seen is the power and the value of adding in some inexperience, 10 to 20% of your team, having folks who are new to their roles or new to the industry and coming in with a different perspective. And I've seen that actually add value and make teams more successful than having a team of entirely experienced, quote unquote, A players with, this many years experience.
Really? Have you ever been part of a team that has added, well, I assume at one point you were new.
I was. It's been a while. I'm trying to remember, 15 years ago, some of my first projects. But I've been a part of both, right? So I've been a part of teams where the leadership says this is an absolutely critical project. We don't have the time to teach anyone. So we need everyone to be an experienced, whatever their role happens to be on this project. And I've been a part of teams that, had some representation of new folks. And in fact, I've been lucky enough in my career that I've been able to add to existing teams some inexperience, and I found the benefits quite positive.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you yourself come from a technical background or were trained as a Scrum
No,
Master?
I started, I graduated college with a major in psychology. Thought I was going to get into sales, and I did okay in sales, but didn't really enjoy it. But then I found I literally talked myself into a business analyst job, having no idea what technology really was, and never looked back.
Wow. Now over at Transcendio, you guys are hiring or getting new people into tech. And that's got to be challenging with, I don't know, every job posting I see requires what, 3 to 5 years. So how are you approaching that?
That is the $1 million question that I'm trying to answer today. So the challenge is most companies want to hire somebody who already has experience, whether it's as an employee or a consultant. Doesn't matter. They're looking to bring in people who already have experience, even for entry-level jobs. And while I understand the desire to go that way, what I think you end up with is a team that has a standard way of thinking that no one's challenging. Teams that get better because someone's on that team is pushing them, is challenging them, is questioning them. They're always looking at something new. Teams that don't have that element, they get stagnant. They don't grow. They don't get better. When you bring in somebody new as a leader, and I've done this several times in my career, I've been lucky enough to be able to do this. I have to explain to that new person why we are doing things a certain way. Well, one of the examples I love to give is I had a new Scrum Master brought in as like an assistant Scrum Master to several teams that I was leading, kind of acting as a release train engineer. And I had to explain to her that we weren't having a regular sprint review or a demo, as most people call it. And in doing so, I realized that, she said, well, if you're not doing that, then explain to me how the customer's keeping up to date on what it is we're building, how they're giving you feedback, and how they're, how they're getting the benefits of a demo if you're not having one. And I said, well, they're not. She said, well, is that causing you any challenges? And I said, well, yes, it is. She said, why aren't you doing it? I didn't have a really good answer. So that's a perfect example of, leaders need to explain to people who are new their way of thinking, because people don't understand it. And not just new to the business, but that maybe they've read about tech and they understand, hey, I took my Scrum Master class and we're supposed to be doing this. We're not doing this. A seasoned Scrum Master might just accept it. Oftentimes we would and just move on. But a newer Scrum Master is more likely to ask you why. And that why creates that thinking. And that thinking led me to do something that wasn't a standard demo, or sprint review to be technical, but that did get what we were putting out in front of our stakeholders on a regular basis and check in more frequently and get real feedback. And that feedback led to a better product.
Do you find that it causes more friction on the team to be new and challenging these ideas, or do our seasoned employees, they just kind of go with the flow?
I think seasoned employees, once you've done something, especially if you're a consultant, you've gone to a lot of different companies, you've just seen it done not the right way so many times, you just accept it. You don't ask the question. In addition to forcing leaders to explain their way of thinking, newbies force us to teach others. Those of us with more experience, we have to teach the newer folks what the rules are, how the process works, how we do things here. And in doing so, we remind ourselves of those basics. A lot of times I'll get to teaching someone, okay, so the right way to handle a sprint is, lock it down and not allow for a bunch of ejections. But the reason we don't do that here is because of X, Y, and Z. But then it's reinforcing that knowledge that you have in your head of, here's the basics. And, they say you never truly learn something until you teach it. That's so true. The number of times I go back and I'm teaching people the basics just reinforces the things that I've forgotten, or, the times I've tried to outsmart my common sense. And I think, again, it's the second aspect is needing to teach people, needing to remember all those things you learned and why they're important. I don't see that as a friction. Obviously, if you bring in somebody who's going to say, well, I went to class and this is what they told me in class, and so this is the way we have to do it. Yeah, that's going to be a problem, but I don't see that too often. I see it as, hey, I learned this in class. I learned this by reading, on the internet or watching YouTube videos of, the agile signatories, and what we're doing is different. Can you explain those differences to me? I see most newbies really good at that.
Do you think that obviously there's a possibility, but in your experience, have you had the flip side happen where the new Scrum Master becomes kind of corrupted almost by our tech vets into doing things the wrong way, which would hurt them in the future?
That's another advantage to bringing in somebody who's new, right? You bring in somebody who's been corrupted over the last 5 years at the same company. They come to your company, they're going to bring those same bad habits with them. One of the biggest challenges I see a lot of times in Scrum Masters that come from have been in the career for a while, is this idea of protecting the team at all costs, and playing the politics game. And these are bad habits that certain organizations, have more of a problem with than others. Um, but bringing in somebody who's new, giving them the right attitude of, we're not here to focus on my team versus your team. We're here to focus on, as an organization, all of these teams coming together and delivering real value. It takes me months, sometimes years, to unlearn people those bad habits of playing politics and protecting their team against the other teams. Sometimes I can't even unteach that. But bringing in somebody new, I can show them that, and it's, again, not unlearning bad habits. Like, another advantage of bringing in newbies.
Yeah, that sounds great. But is there, you guys at Transcendio, your whole mission is to diversify the tech world. Are you reaching out to new people, or are you guys planning on going through the seasoned ones?
Yeah, so Transcendio's mission is to diversify the solutions we build in technology so they work for everyone. That's our end state goal. And we think we get there by changing the culture. If the culture of technology professionals doesn't change, you're going to have women and minorities leaving tech faster than white men. And that's not going to, nothing's going to change until we change the culture. So we got to change that culture. And if you look at an organization, you look at a team or a group, leadership sets that culture. So the way we change that culture is make that leadership group representative of women and minorities. Now, I'm not saying that we can't work with, a bunch of white men who are sitting in these leadership roles and teach them different perspectives on how to look at the world. We can, and we can move the needle a little bit by doing that. But the real change, the big change, is going to happen when the executive leadership team at a major organization meets, and it's representative of women, African Americans, Latinos, Native Americans, and every group is represented in that meeting. That's going to set the culture that drives the team, that builds the technology. So that's our goal. The way we approach this challenge is we take people with existing experiences in other fields, in leading teams, in managing to a budget, in meeting challenging deadlines, in managing vendors, and all of those things, all those skill sets in other fields, and we help women and minorities with those skill sets transfer into tech. And let me tell you, in doing so, it's not just about, it's not just about, hey, this person has these other skills or these transferable skills, but they bring other skills with them in addition to the transferable skills that you wouldn't even think about. Give you a perfect example. I brought in a debt collector to be my assistant project manager, scrum master, on one of the most challenging projects I've ever worked on. She had no IT background, but she had experience leading teams, and experience as a debt collector you wouldn't think is really transferable to tech. I hadn't even thought about this at the time, but this project was managing 7 different vendors and 12 different internal teams, and a lot of our biggest challenge was just getting a hold of people, and sometimes getting a hold of the right people at the right time. There are ways, there's certain times of day that if you call, you're more likely to get the person at the desk, the gatekeepers, they call it in sales, and versus getting directly through to the director. There are times of day that are better to call in general for certain people. There are times of day that are better to call landlines versus cell phones. And debt collectors know this, and they have research on that. And they also know the type of voicemails you leave that are most likely to get a response, or emails that you can send that cue people, because that's their job. This is what they do for a living, is they get a hold of people to shake them down for their money that they owe. all those skills came through and helped me in a pinch when I needed to get a hold of various vendors and certain, I had to get directors or VPs on the phone for certain calls, or respond to certain emails. Skills that I didn't have, that someone who'd been in debt collecting for a few years had developed and learned. Um, it's not just transferring the skills that they already have, it's bringing in new skills, approaches, and techniques to your challenges that you're not going to get from bringing in another project manager who's got 10 years experience.
Right.
So all around, again, you're not going to take your entire team and hire, let's say you got an organization with 30 project managers. I'm not suggesting anyone, just hires 30 brand new project managers with, backgrounds in debt collection and banking and event management. But, 3 or 4 out of your team, absolutely. And that team of project managers is gonna benefit from those skill sets, from those knowledge, from those questions. Or if you've got a Scrum team, do we need 10 experienced developers on this team? Ton's a little high, but or do we have room to bring in somebody new, but whether they're fresh out of a coding boot camp, whether they're self-taught, or whether they're just striking out on a new challenge. I would suggest if your team takes on one new person, you're going to find, assuming the right people, all other things being equal, you're going to find that they benefit the team in the long run. And even in the short run, you get more done. You re-examine why you're doing things the wrong way. You ask yourself good questions and you reinforce the knowledge you already have. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you benefit from skills that you never would find in an experienced Scrum Master, developer, business analyst, etc.
So would you say that the newbies' eagerness to kind of prove themselves adds to their work quality then?
Absolutely. I mean, they're going to be committed. They're going to be looking to grow. This isn't somebody who wants to sit in the same chair and do the same job they've done for the last how many ever years. This is somebody who wants a new challenge, a new experience, and they're going to be driven to be successful. And that attitude, is just as important as anything else.
Well, thanks for stopping by. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
Hey, just thanks for the opportunity, Cole. And to anyone out there who is a new Scrum Master or looking to get into a role as a Scrum Master, I want to say it will be challenging, but it will be exciting. It will be fun, and I wish you the best of luck.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Dan, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time.